Hello viewers, welcome once again to another edition of our literary program. Well, in literary program, besides bringing for you some established authors and writers, we also give a platform to young minds, to young authors, to young poets, to showcase their talents, to speak to them and to know what is going on besides their studies. So here we are gathered once again in the studios of Doordarshan, Shillong, and today we are here with the students of St. Mary's College, Shillong. And these students who are gathered here are from different semesters of the college. Well, they are all from the Department of English, some of them from the third semesters, and of course one of them is from the fourth semester. Besides their academic career and their zeal, they are also into other activities, and one of them is to compose and to write poems. Well, so we'll be talking to them, understanding what the young minds think and what is their future plans, etc. We will also make them read some of their original works. So let me go ahead and introduce them to you. To my extreme left is Noella. We are also being joined by Sudeshna, and right beside me is Debolina. Well, as I said, they're all students of St. Mary's College, Shillong. Yeah, it's wonderful to have you all. Three young ladies here in the studios to speak about literature, to speak about your creative zeal, etc. So I heartily welcome all three of you to this program. I have just given a very brief introduction about you all, but I'm sure there's something more that you would like to speak about yourselves. So let me begin from, Neola there. Introduce yourself for the sake of all of our viewers who are watching this program.
Okay. My full name is Noella Roy Karpranwajri. I am a resident of Shillong and I'm currently in my third semester in St. Mary's College, and as has been stated by ma'am, I'm in the English department. I love writing. I think writing to me is like breathing. So it's a very important part of my life, and I think that this literary program will help so many other youths out here who are looking to perhaps find inspiration and guidance, and hopefully they can find it in today's program.
Absolutely wonderful introduction. Let's go to you, Sudeshna.
My full name is Sudeshna Bhattacharjee, and like you've mentioned, I am pursuing my bachelor's in English literature. I'm in the third semester, and if you ask me what literature is to me, it's like my first love. I love writing, I love reading, and for me it's like if I'm sad, writing is the way I express my emotions. So it's a very sensitive thing for me when someone says that you write very well. So I'm very happy.
Well, we will dwell into more. We will go into you a little bit deeper in a little while. But let us hear from Debolina. What do you have to? How do you wish to introduce yourself?
This is Debolina Bhattacharjee, and I'm currently doing literature. For me, literature, it's quite a family emotion, because my grandfather wanted me to do literature all his life. He was the one who introduced me to John Keats. He was the one who spoke about James Joyce all the while. He passed away, but then I wanted to continue the legacy because he wanted to study literature. And I didn't even realize when I fell for literature, and it has been an extreme passion and zeal to continue studying literature. And poetry, for that matter, is something that I call my coping mechanism. Writing for me, it's a daily activity. I write up journals and everything. So poetry for me is very much near to my heart, and I write out whatever I feel.
By just your introductions, I could make out that y'all are all very, very sensitive people. You all, for y'all, writing and poems is part of your life, and you go delve into it whenever there is, other things that is a little bit unkind, a little bit not so nice, right? Noella, that's what the world has become, isn't it? Yes. A little insensitive. And so I've seen, whenever I've spoken to young people like you, I've always seen one thread that binds, and is so common, is that it makes them feel, happy. It makes them feel you can relate to your work too. There's somebody, at least in the form of writing, that is listening to you. So tell us, what actually brought you into writing, into this creative form of, literature?
Initially I was into science. Okay. I always believed that I was going to be a doctor or scientist at the very least. But when I was around in middle school, I started journaling, and it was very therapeutic for me. And then I suddenly got into reading more and more, not just the Indian writers, but beyond. and it just really expanded my outlook on the world, and that there's so much more to it than just what we see on the news and beyond. I think literature is a reflection of what it is to exist, and that has really resounded so deeply within me, and so I took up English literature as my major to sort of also share my take on what it is to be a human being and to exist.
Absolutely wonderful. And if I come to Sudeshna,
Yes,
Sudeshna, you started writing at a very early age
Yes,
too,
ma'am.
and what pushed you into it?
Ma'am, as far as I remember, when I was in class KG, I was always an introverted kid. So I would write stories in classes.
In class KG?
Yes, I would
Okay.
write short stories. I just liked writing. So as I grew up, I was very introvert, so I didn't have a lot of friends. So the only way for me to express my feelings was through writing. So I would write down anything and everything I had in mind. I started journaling at a very early age too. And then as I grew up, we started learning Shakespeare and John Keats, and I just fell in love more. And my mom always said that, I believe in you, you write very well. Like, you should take up this. And when I was in school too, my teachers would always tell me that you take up literature, you'll shine in it. So here I am today.
Okay. So there has always been some kind of influence, right? Keats, Shakespeare, and so much. They have always played a very important role in our early years. And for you, Debolina, who has inspired you among some of the authors? Because I'm sure that you have read some of their works right from your school days, perhaps, and then. So in which direction have you allowed your thoughts to flow thereby?
I kind of write about everything that I feel, and one thing that pushed me into writing was I have a group of friends who are into science and that kind of a background, so they really cannot get along with the thought process I have. I would talk about literature, I would talk about politics, and I would talk about everything in a very literal sense, and they were into the rationality and practicality of life. So that's where it was like, the two different thoughts, and you cannot really gel with the other person. So, and then one day I decided I'll stop finding friends to discuss things, and that's where I started writing, because I felt the moment I started writing and reading, obviously that goes simultaneously. I believe as a writer today, as a budding writer, that you cannot write unless you read. And it's very sad that people of our generation have stopped reading. They're so much into the social media has become an extension of our body, and we cannot really live without our phones and our laptops. But then I feel reading heals. For me it does, and the more you read, the more you write. So when I started writing, I really did not need a company, to express anything, whatever. Even if you talk about the Palestine thing that's going on in this day and age, with people are talking and fighting about indigenous rights, and you can write it. The more you write, the more your thoughts become clear to yourself. And I don't know about authors, but then I had a teacher back in school. She was the one who influenced me. I remember my first take on writing was when I was 7 years old. I wrote a short story, self-made story about me and my dad, which was published in a magazine in the Children's Corner. That was the first take when I started writing, and my teachers, I've studied in St. Mary's, New Delhi, and teachers have been extremely supportive towards me. So I think that teacher, Ma'am Rosie, was the one who influenced me into writing.
And I can see it from your eyes that you still remember her with a lot of love and fond
Absolutely,
thoughts,
yes.
right? Noella, what she said is true, isn't it? The more you read, the more you expand your horizon. And it is also true that the youngsters of today actually have stopped reading. I mean, of course, I will not say it's a blanket, kind of a thought for everybody. There are people like you and others also are reading. How important is reading?
I think reading really, it's so significant because it shows that you can focus on something for a really long duration of time. So it really tests your attention span, if we're to speak about it in that sense. But really, I think reading is more emotional.
Therapeutic also, to
Yes,
some
ma'am.
extent, yeah?
Definitely therapeutic. And I would not agree really that the youngsters of today don't really read. I think we do read, but through different platforms. There are many online books that are available to us now that weren't before, and so when reading now is just not taking up a book and opening it.
Yes.
It's more like taking up.
Digital also.
Yeah. It's very digital now. So, I think there's more scope and definitely, literature has expanded in new ways. I think there was this teacher of mine who's really into comic books.
Okay.
And we were having a discussion around last week or something where she mentioned to me how people don't really consider comic books literature, but my mom and my dad and my aunts and uncles, they grew up on comic books, and it really shaped the way they chose their later works of literature, which they really enjoyed. So I think this new age of technology, it's not a bad thing, but we have to utilize it properly, and I think reading is definitely not dying anytime soon.
Right. Very, very, true to what you said. There are also, of course, a lot of, and we just had some literary festivals, etc. I saw a lot of crowd, youngsters like you actually literally crowding up. Yeah, so reading as a habit is good. And if I come to Sudeshna once again,
Yes.
who are some of your inspirations, like whom you've read again and again, and therefore those thoughts and those kind of whatever words you're now utilizing or using in your kind of
Yes.
writings?
For me, ma'am, it's always been Charles Dickens. I know I grew up reading Shakespeare, but when once I started reading Charles Dickens' works, I realized he brought out the harsh realities of life, some things which I feel Shakespeare missed out on. His epics are brilliant, no doubt, but sometimes I felt Shakespeare missed bring out the realities of the age during that time. So for me, it's Charles Dickens and John Keats. I love him. I love his work. And another author I'd like to mention is Khaled Hosseini. He's one of my favorite. He writes about, he's an Afghan-American writer. He writes about Afghanistan. So he has inspired me a lot. So my writings are basically, they bring out the simple, everyday things that are happening around us. And, I believe that poetry, to some it is complex. For me, it should be simple,
Easy, yeah.
Yes.
Lucid, yeah.
Like, so that the commoners
Understandable.
understand it. It should not be something which only some PhD scholar would understand.
Debolina, all that you have mentioned so far are foreign authors, in the sense, and that also of quite an early age, 19th century, 20th century. What about the present authors of today? India is bubbling with a lot of things, good things that is happening.
Yeah,
don't you
absolutely.
think?
Although I've mentioned about the foreign Western writers, but then I have a huge respect for the Indian writers. And I think Indian literature, for that matter, Oriental literature, we've always spoken about Western literature, but I would want to say that Oriental literature is so rich in its own self. You talk about Bengali literature or any written form of literature, Marathi literature. It's so rich in its own place that there's so much to learn from it. To mention about Indian writers, obviously Sudha Murthy, the way she writes, her simplicity, her lucidness in writing. As Sudeshna said, it's understandable by everybody and you somehow connect to it to the grassroots level, the way she writes. Another writer that I look up to is Amrita Mahale. And she also won the JCB prize in 2022, and her book called Milk Teeth, she talks about the Mumbai landscape and the chawl system of Mumbai, and I feel that that's how writing should be. It should connect to you, to your
to the
own
common people.
culture, to your own heritage, because it's somehow losing, with like in the process of westernizing and being modern, we've lost it to our culture, and
Right.
and I think people should be reading more of their own culture and their own literature. So I really look up to the Indian writers
Yeah,
too.
because we can then relate ourselves,
Absolutely,
right?
yes, absolutely.
So let's come now to some of the, I know you'll be reading, some of your work. So let's begin with Noella. What have you got for us and what are you going to present before us right now?
I have two poems,
Okay.
ma'am.
Tell us firstly about the first one that you'll be reading. What went into it? What was the mood like and etc.?
The first poem that I will be presenting today, it was sort of the inner old woman in me speaking. I was thinking about the youth of today, and I know I'm not very old. I hope I don't look it.
You are young, don't worry. You're still just in your third semester,
So, I was thinking if I were a grandmother, what kind of a letter would I leave behind to my grandchildren? And it's, looking at the state of the world, the wars going on, the just crippling economy, and this ever-increasing struggle of our people. I wrote a poem, and the first poem that I wrote about, it deals with that. And
okay, so go ahead. Let us hear you.
The poem is titled "A Letter from Yore." Dearest children of tomorrow, heed not our examples of sorrow. Painted signs, songs of sirens, flags of despair, the world in a state of perpetual disrepair. What have we done? What have we birthed? How can one have luxury and the other barely a shirt? We say we know peace, but stabbed him in the back. We say we know love, but pushed her off life's track. We say we do not know war, but our hands are crimson red. We say we do not know pride, yet refuse to break bread. We have torn apart what was so divinely woven, all to have the validity of our points proven. We have eyes, but we do not have sight. We rarely bark, but we are quick to bite. This is the anatomy of our human race, full of destruction and rarity of grace. But despite the tears, the rips, the rifts, you are the change and the future's gifts.
Wonderful. I mean, I understood it from the first word till the end word. Very relatable.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, let's hear you, Sudeshna.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So it's a very personal poem for me because
What have you titled it?
it's called Standing in Silence, and it's a tribute to my grandma who passed away last month.
Okay.
So my grandma had spent 40 years without my grandfather. So I wrote this for her. Like she's saying it through me to her beloved whom she had lost. I'll read it out. It says, and the title is Standing in Silence. It was 3:10 that night. The storm had not stopped. Rain poured down the lanes and the trees almost bent over, with leaves scattered all over the garden. I got up from my desk to see the moon. There it was, peeping through the clouds. A strange feeling engulfed my soul. I knew not what I was feeling, but it was a strange one. Are you missing the person? Questioned a part of my heart. I was too stunned to speak a word. Yes, I was. The other part of my heart wanted to scream. But oh, alas, I was unable to speak. Memories hit my brain and we went down memory lane. Holding your hands, looking into your eyes, how beautiful was your smile. I wish you were here, my heart cried out. But oh, you were long gone by then. You now live in my memories, in my poetries and stories. One day I will be gone too, but my writings shall remain, and they will be the witness of our love. I went back to my desk again, this time with teary eyes. The silence engulfed the room once again, and rain poured down the lanes.
Wonderful. How nice. How poignant, really. It's very touching, actually. Okay, so let's hear, Debolina, what do you have?
I
for
have
us?
a slightly romantic
Okay.
touch to it.
Are you also romantic?
I am hopelessly. I should be a little hopeful now, but then I'm hopelessly romantic.
Okay.
That's how my friends call it. So it's about a woman who's forever enclosed in her dreams in search of her man.
Okay.
So I've titled it to be In Dreams Forever Enclosed. There's a girl everyone knows, brimming with love, no worries or woes. She's a girl with the biggest smile, no one knows she forces a bile. She wants to see her man, but that's not in her hand. She cries herself sleep at night, but wakes up again bright. There's a place where she goes that no one knows, in search of her man and his dreams, where even love grows. A place that's out of everyone's hand, beautifully framed in a faraway land. The place is her favorite dream, where love is fully brimmed. She loves the sight of her man, that's what she can. She always wishes to be with him while the birds sing their hymn. In the dreams of her life, she keeps her secrets and fears and regrets, and away from the world and its threats. In her dreams, she holds her love for him who is lost. She shouts out loud, I love you, and then asks, did I make you hear it too? This is a girl nobody knows. In her dreams, she is forever enclosed.
I can truly see the romantic side, and it suits you perfectly, At this age, if you can't be romantic, when then? Now, how long does it take for each of you all to write your works, like all these poems that you have just read out for us? say how long, how because you have made it the words really rhyme, right?
Yeah.
So you have to find the right phrase also, the right words. How long does it take for you?
Sometimes I think for me it depends on the mood.
Okay.
So if I'm super energetic towards it, then it takes a day or so. Or sometimes I've been writing a few of my poems, the serious ones. They're like, it takes a week sometimes. You know, you cannot really think. You need a pensive mood to think about writing. So it takes time.
Depends on what mood you're in.
Yeah, exactly.
What about y'all?
Same,
yeah, around that much. Yeah.
How Debolina said, the poem I just read out, I was feeling very enthusiastic that day, so I was like, I'll write a poem. So I took my phone and started typing, and I finished it in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Have you all published any of your works? Yeah. Where have you all published?
I have. I'm a part of a group called Story Berries, where we write. And recently, I wrote an article on appearance versus reality, absolute reality, which got published in an international magazine called Ozymandias in London.
Wonderful, wonderful. What about y'all? I mean, it is important to publish, I think, right? I mean, I know many of y'all are writing, many of the others also, so they keep writing, but once in a while you have to let it out also, right? Because, you know, to look at it, to get a critical appraisal of it is also important. Yeah. Have you gone back, Noella, to some of your writings and again improved it? I mean, you were in a different mood then. You wrote it then that way, but then you were in a different mood again, and then you went and changed it. Has it happened to you?
Yes, ma'am. I think it's countless. You know, it's countless at this point. You know, you go back and then you think, oh my days, what was I thinking writing this?
Yeah.
And then especially the early teenage writings, you know, where you just jot down whatever you're feeling. Now I think as you know, someone who's in college, I look at it with a more experienced lens and under more experienced scrutiny. And you know, they look rather childish to me, the poems now, but you know, I think looking back at old poems and altering them to the current state of mind that you're in is a very good thing, but also in a way it takes away the very essence.
Yeah, because
of
that
the
was
piece.
then, right?
Yes,
you should just leave it there, I guess, because we mature as we grow, right? All our experiences also matures us as individuals, what we become. So what now? All of y'all are from literature background, right? I mean, you have taken up literature. The love of it is quite palpable, what I could understand. Now what after this? How do y'all want to take it ahead?
I said I always have wanted to be a professor of literature, and that's how I see. And but then for a long run, if you ask me, I want to be a writer someday.
Okay.
So I'm paving that path maybe. So for that, I need to be a little stable in life to be a writer, because you need all of it to be a writer. So in a long run, I would want to publish a book of mine to be known and recognized.
I hope someday we will take up a book, Debolina Bhattacharjee.
Hopefully.
What about y'all? Any future plans, or y'all are just now testing yourselves the water and you are still not very sure where?
Yes,
okay. I'm sure that the future is very bright. Y'all are so young. Y'all are young minds having lots of thoughts. You know, y'all are literally waving through different whatever y'all are testing right now, and y'all will mature and grow. But as we are almost wrapping up, what is it that you would like to read first? Let us begin from Debolina once again. Let us wrap up this program by hearing one more poem from each one of you.
This I had written for a friend after him winning, and I felt that the win was both ways. So I've titled it to be Winning in Togetherness. Your 12 secure belongings, my eyes kept record. Your memorable winnings, I prayed to applaud. Your hearty heart of gold, of eclectic feelings that roll, found in me the courage to behold. To behold the enchanting beauty of your eyes feeling pretty, to behold the tranquil sound of heart that chanted through all paths. So now I circle in a maze, in rainbow sky you did gaze, adoring the gem-like view, in 1,000 miles is only you.
And what do we have from you as we wrap up?
I have a very simple poem. It's a poem someone writes after a heartbreak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's titled Bliss, and it says, and finally one day I stopped mentioning about you, for you were no longer a part of my life, but just another person who had walked by my side in this journey of life. My heart ached every time my friends asked about you. Yes, I missed you. but I had lost my own identity being with you. Loving someone shouldn't hurt, right? Love isn't a tug of war after all. Today, when we're no longer together, though I'm broken and shattered, I am glad I'm stronger than ever. Your absence doesn't bother me anymore. Trust me, I have learned to love myself even more. The stars have witnessed my change. Alas, they know the pain behind my smile. One day, when I look back into the past, I'll probably realize that all this was just part of growing up. I will hold no grudges against you because my heart was too meek to forgive you.
I don't want to intrude, but did you go through a heartbreak? Was it a
Yes.
personal? So now I know. Like you found a lot of calm, and you found
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
out of
And
it,
it's
right?
just because of literature. As I mentioned, I express through literature. I write.
Yeah.
So I wrote it when I had
Wonderful.
a
That's how it
heartbreak.
should be, because sometimes others don't understand, and if it helps you, because I know young people like you have a lot of there's so much going on.
Yes, ma'am.
So it takes a little effort, and if those negative emotions comes out and goes into the back burner, why not, right? As we are wrapping up, yes. Noella.
My second poem for today is another grandma poem. It's titled My Maid's Guide to Living. So Maid is a Khasi word for maternal grandmother, and my maternal grandmother she's the compass of my life. She's the strongest pillar. So this one is for her. To love living is to truly forgive without resentment. To age gracefully, perhaps, is to find joys in contentment. To look for every good, it is mandatory to see the bad. To look for reason, we must allow ourselves to go a little mad. To love is to give without expectation of a return. To be courageous, we must risk ourselves getting burned. To be at peace is to fight the great internal war. To be intimate, we must learn to open a vulnerable door. To be strong, we must provide ourselves moment of weakness. To be confident, we must appreciate the virtues of meekness. Speak and behave with empathy, or do nothing at all, for we are not aware of when we may fall. Live to have experienced the flavors of life, not to die in a fit of regretful strife.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I mean, so much of maturity in your thoughts, in your words, the way you all have written, woven all of them. I'm sure that each one of you have a wonderful future. Keep reading, that is so important, and continue to write as well. I wish you tons of good luck as you forge ahead in life, in your different, chasing different aspirations and so many more dreams that you all will live through each day of your life. All the very best, and thank you so much for your time with Doordarshan Shillong.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
ma'am.
much, ma'am.
Well, those were our three young budding authors, poets, call them whatever, but yes, they are beautiful young minds. I hope you've enjoyed being with us in this program today. Until we meet again next time with another set of such young minds where we will continue to have some wonderful conversation. It is goodbye.